Emotional intelligence is a billion-dollar industry. The scientific evidence supporting it remains incredibly thin. Ideas often persist in corporate environments because they are convenient. This framework gave managers a way to talk about human behavior that sounded like hard science, without requiring them to do any actual psychological work. Your emotions would directly translate to mastering other people. 3 decades later, the corporate training industry around this idea is massive. Yet the original problem remains. Organizations are still full of leaders who manage their teams as though they were mechanical components rather than human beings. The survival of emotional intelligence testing is a testament to its brilliant marketing and how easily it fits into a boardroom. It does not reflect a track record of operational success. To understand the flaw, we have to look at how the idea was built. In the 1960s, academics attempted to take what we knew about cognitive intelligence and stretch that exact same framework over human emotion. This diagram illustrates the traditional model of cognitive intelligence. A standard IQ test measures specific functions, like fluid reasoning, against objective criteria. The structural assumption is these skills are linked by a single unifying factor. Excelling in one generally correlates with your overall score. Emotions do not work this way. They are not a uniform material. Human feelings are highly subjective and heavily influenced by cultural norms. Unlike a math problem, there is no objective standard for the correct emotional response. In fact, the scientific community cannot even agree on how many distinct emotions exist. Estimates range from 6 primary categories to over 30 highly differentiated states. Looking at this scattered map of emotional states, you see the disconnect. Treating distinct responses as one score is like using one number to predict sprinting and fine motor control. This causes a transfer assumption failure. Managing your anger doesn't predict managing another's grief. The error of the last 30 years was attempting to treat a heterogeneous collection of subjective experiences as a single measurable metric. Inside highly regulated environments like pharmaceutical manufacturing, the cost of a bad decision is not abstract. You measure it in rejected batches, regulatory citations, and physical safety. Consider a site quality manager who recently completed an emotional intelligence program. In calm, controlled environments, his behavior improved. He listened closely, he asked better questions. His feedback scores went up. Then, an out-of-specification product was flagged late on a Friday afternoon. A potential regulatory notification and product recall loomed within 72 hours. The situation required clear-headed, immediate conflict management. The moment genuine operational pressure arrived, the active listening skills vanished. Instead of running the investigation protocol, the manager spent 2 days managing his own exposure, reframing the incident to protect himself while the regulatory timeline nearly slipped. This reversion happens because you cannot train a single muscle and expect it to stabilize the entire skeleton. The program had improved his composure in controlled settings, but left his capacity for high-stakes empathy completely untouched. That catastrophic operational failure provides the ultimate proof. The EQ model collapses exactly when the stakes become real. The tool we have been using is wrong, but the problem it identified is highly relevant. Treating employees like economic units has massive operational costs. Here, we see a more accurate model supported by neuroscience, known as emotional granularity. Emotional granularity is the ability to precisely distinguish between specific emotional states, rather than experiencing them as a blur of undifferentiated distress. When a person can clearly differentiate between grief, resentment, and disappointment in the moment, their prefrontal cortex has highly specific information to work with. The prefrontal cortex is the brain's executive control center, responsible for complex decision-making. This precise data allows the brain to regulate each specific state effectively. This precision is a real, teachable competency, but it is localized. Developing a sharp eye for shame does not automatically improve your capacity for managing anger. The implication here is uncomfortable for an industry built on simple answers. It means organizations must discard the unified general score framework and begin treating each individual emotion as its own domain, requiring its own isolated study. It forces us to ask a difficult question. What would our professional development look like if we finally started taking each discrete emotion seriously on its own terms?